Hey guys, I want to talk about psychedelic drugs. Psychedelic drugs are something that I am kind of uncomfortable talking about, because there's this whole social stigma and the whole law thing. And people are like kind of judgmental when someone just gets up and starts talking about drugs. However, drugs are a very, very interesting topic to talk about, and it's a very interesting thing to understand. It's a very interesting thing to learn about. It's a very interesting thing to research. And honestly, they've played a pretty profound impact on my life and me getting to where I am now. So the first thing is, let's talk really quickly about the definition of a drug. So what is a drug? A drug is basically anything that really alters your brain chemicals or your body in such a way that things are different somehow. It's something that interacts chemically with your body, really. So when we take that definition of drug on, then we get to look at the distinction between illegal drugs and legal drugs and ask the question, okay, why are these drugs illegal while these drugs are legal? So looking at drugs like caffeine, for example, caffeine is legal, okay? And then looking at drugs like cannabis, cannabis is illegal. And looking at drugs like LSD, LSD is illegal. And then we look at drugs like Vicodin, and Vicodin is legal. So what you would kind of ask is, okay, so are the illegal drugs illegal because they actually cause more harm to people and they're more dangerous and you have a risk of like overdosing on it? Well, that pretty clearly becomes clearly not the case when you look at drugs, comparing drugs like caffeine and cannabis. Because caffeine is something that people consume on a daily basis, and it has a lot of effects on our bodies that we don't even realize. And I think, if I remember correctly, there's about 3,000 people, there's some statistic about, I think it's around 3,000 people each year die from using caffeine. Just from using caffeine. They have an allergic reaction, or it interacts with something else and their heart goes too fast and causes a heart attack. But how many people really die from using cannabis? Well, as far as I know, zero. And as far as anyone knows, zero, because it's pretty much impossible to overdose on THC. So let's look at other drugs like LSD. Now, LSD can cause some crazy stuff, right? I'm sure you've heard the stories about people doing insane things when they're on LSD, just thinking they could fly or whatever, and jumping off a thing. Or there's the old story about the babysitter who put the baby in the oven thinking it was a turkey. As far as I know, those stories, I mean, yeah, there's some people who thought they could fly and couldn't. Which is like, I mean, but it happens, sometimes, yeah, stuff happens. But also there's, as far as I know, the story about the babysitter putting the baby in the oven, if you've heard that one, Snopes says it's a lie. It's never happened. But then we look at drugs like Vicodin or like Oxycontin, or these drugs which are legal. And the thing about those is you can overdose on them. You can literally kill yourself with those drugs. You cannot literally kill yourself with LSD. And if you're going to go into the argument that, okay, LSD should be illegal because, it causes all these psychological changes in people which can cause them to do really stupid things, then we would also have to make drugs like a lot of antidepressants and SSRIs illegal, because what they do is they really do chemically alter people's brains such that when people are off of them, then they feel like a completely different person. Some things can honestly completely change the way that people look at the world and the way that people interact with their entire lives. And it's really hard to predict exactly what's going to happen when we put people on all these pharmaceutical drugs. And honestly, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen when we put people on illegal drugs like psychedelics. And one of the big reasons for that is because these drugs haven't been studied properly because they're illegal. So what we get is pretty much, it's the DEA has a law. The DEA doesn't have a law. The DEA has a policy that they can only approve drug studies if they're based on the harms of the drug, especially for Schedule I drugs. You're not allowed to do a study about the benefits of a Schedule I drug. Now, this is really, really, really harmful because drugs like cannabis and LSD are Schedule I drugs. And these are drugs which have a lot of positive benefits that we've seen from studies which have been done in ways that kind of snuck around that rule. But really, there's so much more research that we could be doing, and there's so much more information to be gleaned. And to write off these drugs just by saying, okay, well, they're illegal, so you know what, we should just not talk about them. We should just ignore them. We should just let them be. That is really, really a travesty in society, and it leads to a lot of people not looking into things which could be useful for expanding their mind. Like, literally, if you think of psychedelics kind of as, there's another word, entheogens, which I really like. A lot of people call psychedelics entheogens. We were talking about this the other night, me and my buddy Matt and Aaron, and we were talking about entheogens and how that word literally means awakening the divine within. Now, awakening the divine within, if you've ever done psychedelics, you kind of know that feeling of like, wow, this is all cool. We're all cool. We're all in the same place. We're all part of the same thing, you know? I got some love in me, which I'd love to give away. I've had that experience many times. Many other people have had that experience too. And it's really a shame that a lot more people aren't having that experience because they've closed themselves off to it and judge these drugs by the stereotypes that are put out by people who have a vested interest in keeping them illegal. I mean, seriously, trusting the DEA to give us accurate information about drugs is like trusting a lumberjack company, a woodcutting company, a paper company about the impacts of deforestation. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, because if we legalize drugs, then a lot of DEA agents would be out of a job, right? But our NDIC, our National Office of Drug Control. Anyways, so this is what I wanted to talk about, was basically just the value of using psychedelics. If you use them as a tool, if you go into it with the right mindset, they can be extremely mind-opening and extremely paradigm-shifting, and they can be valuable tools which many people can use. And you know what? I am not scared to say that I've used psychedelics, and I'm not scared to say that I'm going to use more psychedelics. I am willing to talk openly about this, and if you're out there and you've used psychedelics and you're not willing to talk openly about it, what are you scared of? Honestly, do you think I'm going to get arrested because I made this video? Do you think that the police are going to come knock on my door and be like, Mr. Bose, we heard that you made a video about using psychedelics and now we're here to arrest you? No, I'm not saying I have psychedelics. I don't have any psychedelics, and I don't have any illegal drugs. I don't sell them or anything like that. I'm not making a video saying I'm here to sell them. So really, the risk in this is just me losing my image, me looking stupid, me kind of being judged and being stereotyped as, oh, there's that stoner guy who talks about drugs sometimes. Well, clearly I'm not that. I'm a successful man. I run a business. I sell educational kids books. I run a blog. I do some fun stuff. I do exercise. I work out. I'm a good member of society. I give back. I love people. I treat people really well. And sometimes I do drugs. And you know what? I'm totally fine with putting that out there, and I'm totally fine with making everyone in this world reconsider the stereotypes that they have about drug users as being people who are withdrawn from society, people who aren't successful, people who aren't going after things in life. Because that's just bullshit. And it's not helping. It's not serving anyone. And this drug war is ridiculous. We're literally putting people in cages over using things which are safer than things which doctors are prescribing to help people with their depression that they have, because our economy is so bad, because we're putting so many freaking people in cages and raising kids without fathers and all this stuff that's coming. And it's not all a direct cause of the drug war. I'm not saying that. But the drug war is definitely a huge part of it. Like, seriously, if you look at all these dads in prison, you're looking at the economy, complaining about welfare, complaining about all this stuff. If you're complaining about welfare, then you should be totally for drug legalization, because a lot of people are on welfare because, especially like African American families, where dad went to prison or whatever, or got caught up in the streets, or got caught up in drug violence, or something awful like that. And then this mom is stuck with her kids, and she can't help them out. She can't do all the work that two parents are supposed to do on her own. So she needs some help from the government, who caused this problem in the first place. But it's really dangerous, too, to say, you know what, well, it's the government's problem, and the people in the government are just out to get us. Because no, the government is made up of people just like you and me, who just never had a conversation about it with someone who is honestly intelligent and passionate, and really not putting on this stupid image of being like, oh, yeah, dude, legalize drugs, man. Oh, that doesn't help. That doesn't help much. You know what does help? Talking about it and being open about it and being real about it. And that's what I'm here to do. And if you want to judge me for this, go ahead. If you never want to watch my stuff again because I said that I use psychedelics, awesome. But if you're in with me, if you're in on this, if you're in on being authentic and changing the world, make a video, talk about it, or don't. I don't care. But shoot me a message. Hey, share with me your experiences with psychedelics, and I'm going to be making more videos like this. Thank you.